Chiefs news, analysis, and opinion every day. The Kansas City Chiefs have to fix the deep passing game so that it's easier to win, so that they stand a chance against opponents who are doing different things and scoring high numbers of points, for Patrick Mahomes' sense of fun, and quite frankly, for my own sanity, because sometimes, look, I brought up one of the old 2018 games on YouTube. NFL.com had it posted. I watched it and remembered how fun that was. I need that back. And it looks as if the Kansas City Chiefs are getting back to that. I have something to read to you from Chiefs.com, but then I dug up some statistics that we're going to go over that I think show a little bit, I'd never looked at this before, show a little bit of why the Chiefs passing game had suffered so badly, particularly in 2023. And then we've got some RAS numbers to go over because I don't talk about RAS scores enough. Sound fair? In an article titled 5 Observations from Wednesday's Practice, Chiefs Training Camp 7:30, here are some quick notes from Wednesday's practice from Chiefs.com by Matt McMullen. We get the following. The first offensive period focused on the deep passing game. Every period of a 10-10-10 practice focuses on a specific area for each respective phase, and for the offense, head coach Andy Reid clearly emphasized the deep passing game during the first 10 plays of Wednesday's practice. Quarterback Patrick Mahomes executed the period to near perfection with 9 completions across the offense's 10 plays, connecting with tight end Travis Kelce twice, tight end Noah Gray twice, wide receiver TYQUAN Thornton twice, wide receiver Jason Brownley, and wide receiver Jimmy Holiday, and wide receiver Nico Remigio downfield. The offense worked on the running game during its second period before wrapping up practice with a segment focused on the short and intermediate passing game. Why do this first? Why do the deep passing game first? How is it that Matt McMullen draws the conclusion that there was an emphasis from Andy Reid on this? Well, if you put that first, especially after 3 padded practices for the Kansas City Chiefs in the dead heat of July in St. Joseph, Missouri, you can be sure that that is the most focused that your offense will be all the live-long practice. So by putting this up front, it puts a point of emphasis on it. It makes sure that the offense is the freshest and most crisp that it is going to be for the rest of the practice, and you get something drilled into their heads where they are still able to comprehend things, right? You get too hot, you get too tired, you get too sore, very little of the lessons will be learned. And I know, you don't want to see it, but I pulled it up for a reason. The reason is I really like the scores. No, the reason is, we're going to get to it, TYQUAN Thornton's RAS score here, 4.28 40-yard dash, 1.41 10-yard split. Those are elite numbers. This is how you eat the cushion that a corner is providing very, very quickly. Should Patrick Mahomes at times find himself with 4 seconds to throw the ball, well, in 4 seconds, TYQUAN Thornton is about halfway down the field. He also has a 36.5-inch vertical, which isn't great, but he's got 33 1/8-inch arms, and he's 6 foot 2 3/10. So basically 6'2.5". So there is he does have the ability to get downfield. He does have the ability to go up and get the ball. But in addition to TYQUAN Thornton, with whom Patrick Mahomes connected twice on that deep passing game, there was a completion to Jason Brownley. There's a video on Jason Brownley here on the channel. He is a guy that they picked up in free agency after being a preseason warrior for the Jets and not really sticking there. But you see here, in his RAS, an 8.92 RAS, despite the fact that he has a very bad, no good, kind of terrible 40-yard dash, 4.59, which scores 4.66 out of 10. That's true. He's not getting anywhere very fast, but if you look at the rest of what he can do, he's going to remind you a little bit of what it was that Justin Ross could do. He hasn't done what Justin Ross did in college. He hasn't even done what Justin Ross did in the NFL, which, by the way, wasn't very much, at least not here in Kansas City. But despite the fact that he has a 4.59 40-yard dash, he has a 1.56 10-yard split, which scores 7.95 out of 10, which means he can eat that cushion that a corner is going to provide fairly quickly and get neck and neck with that cornerback. Why is that important for a guy like Jason Brownley? Well, he too is 6'2", which scores a 7.73 out of 10 for wide receivers. But look here, he has a 39.5-inch vertical leap, which scores a 9.45 out of 10 for wide receivers. And not only that, so if he's neck and neck with a cornerback, he's 6'2", he's probably taller. He's got a 39.5-inch vertical leap, which means he can get up there in the air, and he has 33 3/4 inch arms. Very long arms, especially for a guy that's 6'2". That's a good arm length for an offensive tackle, most of whom are 6'4", 6'5". So what you have here is not a traditional deep threat with the speed factor, but he is a 50-50 ball threat. You can throw the ball up in the air, hang it around the cornerback and the wide receiver both, and if they go up to get it at the same time, odds are it's Jason Brownley who at least gets hands on it first. We have to see him make receptions to know that he can do that. But if he can go up and snag that pass, that gives the quarterback a better opportunity to just extend drives, to just make the defense think about things, and to just lighten up the box for guys like Travis Kelce and Rashee Rice to work underneath, and to give Isaiah Pacheco and Kareem Hunt better looks in the running game. But they also mentioned a third wide receiver there that we haven't talked about on this channel very much at all, Jimmy Holiday. Now, Jimmy Holiday is a UDFA for the Kansas City Chiefs this season. He's someone that I don't think I did a UDFA video for Jimmy Holiday, but I had kind of made the assumption I don't think this guy is a threat to make the active roster. All of the other UDFAs that I did, I kind of thought were maybe even a tertiary threat to make the 53-man roster. It wouldn't really surprise me if Jimmy Holiday finds himself on the practice squad. It wouldn't surprise me if he finds himself on a practice squad. He is an interesting athlete, but when I watched him on film, I didn't get a whole lot of feeling that he was a particularly threatening football player. That said, he has an 8.63 RAS score. He's 5'11 and 7/10, basically 6 feet tall, 199 pounds, had a 36.5-inch vert, had a 10'3" broad jump. Those are respectable numbers. A 4.4 flat 40-yard dash with a 1.53 10-yard split. Very good numbers there. 4.4 flat scores 9.43 out of 10. And the 10-yard split scores 9.04 out of 10. He has a 4.41 short shuttle and a 6.94 three-cone drill. Neither of those numbers are particularly good, but you see there a 7.26 score for the three-cone drill. So he is someone that's a decent athlete here, so I don't want to short sell him. Has 32.880 arm length, so that is a good arm length. Kind of just an athlete, if you ask me. Like, I just didn't really see anything too worthwhile. But hey, maybe that's because he was playing at Louisiana Tech and he didn't get the best coaching. Maybe if he gets on the field and he has the NFL level coaching, the best coaching in the world for the sport of football, then he can turn things around, or whatever it is, right? Maybe it was just a fluke one play downfield. That too would kind of be promising, because it means that the passing game is really clicking if they can connect downfield against the defense with a player who's not even really a threat to make the roster. But the Kansas City Chiefs need to get back on track. And the deep passing game, I think, was, well, I say I think because I wanted to be kind to Marquez Valdes-Scantling, but I don't think he's going to see this. Marquez Valdes-Scantling kind of sucked. And here is what I'm going to point to in order to prove that. Now, I know that these numbers are very difficult to read, but I'm going to do my best to make this as clear as possible. In 2022, Marquez Valdes-Scantling's first season with the Kansas City Chiefs, The wide receiver had 13 20-plus yard receptions and 3 40-plus yard receptions. That was respectable. In fact, if you look at Tyreek Hill, the very previous season in 2021 is the same numbers. Tyreek Hill in 2021 had 13 20-plus yard receptions and 3 40-plus yard receptions. However, in 2023, those numbers fell for Marquez Valdes-Scantling from 13 to 5 20-plus yard receptions and from 3 to 1 40-plus yard receptions. Not to mention a reception in the Super Bowl where he ran backwards for like 8 yards, but whatever. And that is not just a fall from where he had been the previous season. That is not just a fall from where Tyreek Hill had been in 2021. But if you look at Tyreek Hill back in 2020, Tyreek had 20 20-plus yard receptions and 5 40-plus yard receptions. If you go back to 2019, he had 11 20-plus yard receptions, which is not that great, but 6 40-plus yard receptions. And if you go back to that miracle year of 2018, where Patrick Mahomes won the MVP and was a 5,000 yard and 50 touchdown quarterback, Tyreek Hill had 27 20-plus yard receptions and 8 40-plus yard receptions. So, no, Marquez Valdes-Scantling was not the number one wide receiver in the Chiefs offense in 2023, that very bad, no good, terrible season, but he was the primary deep threat. So when you're thinking about the difference between 2018 and 2023, in 2018, Tyreek had 27 20-plus yard receptions, whereas in 2023, Marquez Valdes-Scantling had 5. From 27 down to 5. That's a difference in explosiveness. When you look at the 2018 season with Tyreek Hill, he had 8 40-plus yard receptions, down to 2023's 1 from Marquez Valdes-Scantling. And it's easy to try to give all that credit to Mahomes, but if you look at where Tyreek was with Alex Smith, 15 20s and 9 40s in 2017. So Tyreek Hill really was a phenomenal athlete. Now, here is how that manifested. 2018, Patrick Mahomes had a 48.1 adjusted completion percentage on throws 20-plus yards. 48.1%. In 2019, that became 56.2%. In 2020, that fell to 39.5%. It was a weird season. 2021, 50%. 2022, he completed 47.1% of his deep throws. And then in that disastrous 2023 season, it fell to 39.5%. And then last season, he completed just 35.5% of his deep throws. Now, you can blame that on Xavier Worthy. You can blame that on a lot of things. You can put a heap of blame on the offensive line as well, because a lot of those times where Patrick Mahomes was rearing up to throw that 20-plus yard pass, he did not have the time to set his feet. He did not have the time to measure the distance. He couldn't lick his finger and put it in the air and see how the wind was. He just had to release it. He had to let it go. So that precipitous fall from 48.1 or 56.2 in 2019, all the way down to 35.5. Now, Patrick Mahomes is a prodigious deep threat for the offense. He can put the ball on any blade of grass at anywhere on the field at any moment. He just has to let it go. I think that part of the problem here is that Patrick Mahomes had been trying to win games instead of opening up the offense, which makes sense. That's what he's there to do. But without taking risks, you don't get the reward. Patrick Mahomes became a game manager the past couple of seasons because that deep threat wasn't there. And look, he got to the Super Bowl anyway. But there has been something going around on Twitter I got this from a guy called Barry On here on Twitter /X. people are using this to sort of write off Patrick Mahomes, right? He can't throw the deep ball anymore. He's washed up. It has gone through even not just the media, but former players like Ben Roethlisberger talking about how Patrick Mahomes is no longer in his prime. And I hate to make these arguments. I hate to sort of put this laundry out there and dry it in the wind as often as I can, but they're wrong. They're wrong. And in order to prove that they're wrong, we're going to pull out the first 111 games for these quarterbacks, Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes, and compare all of the important stats. The same number of games here. The quarterback record. Now, you will note that Tom Brady's only adds up to 110. That is because the very first game there, he came in for Drew Bledsoe. So that did not count as one of his games. He would not get the credit for the win or the loss. So the light green highlighting is who owns the category, who wins that statistic between these two quarterbacks. You see light green highlighted 111, light green highlighted 111, because they are the same number. What does Tom Brady win? Tom Brady wins nothing, because everything that he has that's light green, Patrick Mahomes has it too, because they're tied in the statistic. Patrick Mahomes has won 2 more games than has Tom Brady over that period. He has 3.6 more completion percentage. He has 6,000 more passing yards. He has, 48 more passing touchdowns. He has 8 fewer interceptions. He has a nearly 10-point advantage in passer rating. He has way more rushing attempts, leading to way more rushing yards, a better rushing average. He has 9 more rushing touchdowns. Fantasy points is an interesting stat to look at, but I can't care less about fantasy football. And in fact, Tom Brady, the winningest winner of all time, has not just 2 fewer wins than Patrick Mahomes, but he has the same number of Super Bowl rings at this point in his career as does Patrick Mahomes. And he has 2 fewer Pro Bowls. He had 1 fewer All-Pro. He has 1 fewer AP MVP, the same number of AP Offensive Players of the Year, and 1 fewer Super Bowl victory. So you can put that in your pipe and smoke it if you think that Patrick Mahomes is washed up. Through the same period in their career, these are the statistics. Now we're going to get into some, I believe this is the point in Tom Brady's career around year 8, which would be 2009-ish. That's where Tom Brady really started to hit a strong point in his career for looking like a different player, right? So Patrick Mahomes has to keep this up in order to win over Tom Brady, and he has to do it for a very long time. But those are the statistics as they are. So that is what I have for this video. If you like or appreciate what it is that I do here, hitting the like button really does help me out, as it tells YouTube to share this video with other Kansas City Chiefs fans. If you find yourself here by chance but not design, the Chiefs are the only thing I talk about on the channel, dropping multiple videos every single week. And as always, I hope to have you back for the next one.